The problem with the safe money bucket, though, is that obviously, number one, it doesn't really make a lot of money, as in while it's growing. And insurance carriers have these annuities fixed this way. If you have some guy who meets you and says that he sells annuities and they make stock-like market-like gains, that's a lie. He'll even show you charts, and they won't be charts from real time. They'll be back from like 30 years when the market was hot, okay? Because they go up and down based on the market. So don't believe that. That's a myth. These things are gonna make, on average, cash-wise, cash accumulation, maybe 4%, maybe 5% if you're lucky. And on the side of income, you'll be lucky 6, 7, 8%. And that's what it does. Like I told you, it's boring, right? I always say it's like my grandpa's old Oldsmobile. It goes down the highway at 60 miles an hour on cruise control. It doesn't zip around. It's nothing you brag about, but it helps you sleep at night. Hello, everybody. I'm Ben Mohr, your host of Truly Diversified. Today, we're going to talk about how to allocate your overall portfolio and how to integrate things such as alternative investments. A lot of people say, okay, well, I'm presented with an alternative investment like life settlements, which we've talked about in the past, and we'll give you a refresher course here in a second. But how is it that I implement them into my portfolio? Because people get a little bit scared about alternative investments because they're alternatives, meaning they're not the market or they're not some kind of boring annuity or CD. So they are fresh ideas that a lot of people have never heard of. And they like those ideas, but because they're kind of the unknown, they have a little bit of hesitance because they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to risk my money doing something I don't truly understand and have to trust somebody like myself to help them walk them down that path. Well, here's where it comes out easy. When here at Life Asset LLC, you can go to our website, lifeassetllc.com. We aren't in the business of trying to overhaul your entire portfolio. See, that's what a lot of financial advisors will do. They will want to sit down with you because their idea is the way that they make money is to take over your entire portfolio and mix and match things in the stock market, right? So the way that they make money is what's called assets under management. They might have a 1% fee. So if you give them, say, $1 million to manage, they're making about $10,000 off of your account. And then they just multiply that. If they have hundreds or even 1,000 clients, you can see it's a pretty good living for them. But what they have to do is establish trust with you that they are the person who can handle all of your needs. And mainly their answer to everything is going to be put it in the stock market. And I'm the better stock picker than the last guy or the last gal. That's not what happens here with alternative investments, okay? The focus isn't on managing all of your accounts. Here's what we focus on. If you remember, the mantra here is to make decent returns, possibly double-digit returns, like clients of mine have made this past year, while at the same time outpacing inflation and making sure your money is not at risk in the market or is influenced by outside situations or circumstances, like let's say what's going on in politics these days, or outside influences like maybe a foreign war or some kind of situation that we see like in Ukraine or Gaza, things that always pop up every year. If it's not Gaza and Ukraine, next year it's going to be something else, right? Those things affect your bottom line when you're in the stock market because it affects the economy. Same idea with real estate. So with alternative investments, what's the plan here? I kind of give people a 70-20-10. Think about that, 70-20-10, okay? There are 3 buckets that you're going to have for money for investing. And most people will present you kind of a theory of 2 buckets. Your financial advisor is only going to give you 1 bucket. His bucket is that he's going to diversify your money across the market, okay? Reallocation of funds is what they always say, reallocation. Yes, they're going to reallocate. They're going to move it around all around the market. But when the market suffers, most likely all of those funds that you have, no matter if it's in ETFs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, you're probably not going to have a good year. You're probably going to lose money there. You might lose less money in one category, but lose more in another. And that's what they kind of tell you. It's like, that's why we shuffle the funds. You risk less in that part of the market, but you're still in the market. Look, the majority of people in this country who have retirement funds have them in 401ks, 403bs, things of that nature, okay? If you have a 401k or a 403b, I can almost guarantee you that that money is in the market. So what we see are people who are almost 90 to 100% in the market when we sit down with them. And they believe they're truly diversified because that money is a mixed bag of stocks, bonds, ETFs, what have you, right? Mutual funds. You need to get out of that mindset because the bottom line is, as you head towards retirement, you don't need to take as much risk there. Now, I'm not anti-market. I'm not saying the market's a terrible place. I'm saying that you are overexposed in the market. Now, it's fine if the money you leave in the market is reallocated and moved all around. Great. It's good to have diversification inside the market, but you need more. So when I sit down with somebody who's maybe in their late 50s, early 60s, and as they're heading maybe into their 70s, we kind of start with the 70-20-10 approach. 70% of their money needs to be in their stock market bucket, right? Look, we know what the S&P 500 over all these years has averaged anywhere between 8 and 12%, somewhere in that range, depending on when you look at it. That is great. Remember the rule of 72. If anyone hasn't talked about it, I have on this show. If you make 7.2%, this is mathematically true, 7.2% over a 10-year period, you will double your money. That's where you want to be at least, right? If you're in the market. So you can see that the market on average will do that, but you're going to have some drops, right? So you have to go through those cycles of drops to go up again, right? So that's why you do that. That's why you don't take all your money out of the market. That's crazy. And you don't listen to anybody on any of these channels or anything that tells you that the market is some, big bad wolf at the door. That's insane. But you are overexposed. So what you need to do is, instead of having 100% of your money in the market, have 70% of your money roughly in the market working for you, and use that other 30% to work with you, for you outside the market. So that is your stock market bucket. The second bucket that a lot of people talk about is what they call their safe money bucket. This is money that is guaranteed, cannot lose money. The only place that I recommend to put money there is in one type of annuity, okay? I'm not a fan of variable annuities because I think that's just being in the market wrapped in an insurance shell. You can go ahead and contact me. We can debate this. Bottom line is, has a lot of fees annually. I'm not a big fan. I kind of tell people this is kind of like putting one foot on one bucket and the other. If you're going to be in the market, just be in the market. It's not, you don't get really a lot of advantages of being in a variable annuity. It's just another way of your financial advisor selling you annuities, because the bottom line is it seems like it's safe. At the same time, that way that they get you, the insurance guy, out of your way, trying to steal, as he thinks, some of the money away from his AUM, so that, that's all it is. There are things called fixed annuities, and I've discussed in previous episodes. You can go look at them. A fixed indexed annuity with an income rider is an adequate place to put some safe money. The reason being is what you're doing is you're building a pension. You're just building a secondary pension for you. It's not sexy, okay? It's not going to make you a ton of money, but what it will do is that if you're 60 years old, you can pretty much look at, by the time you're 70, it's known as a deferred annuity. It's going to grow over those 10 years. Again, not at a sexy term. The income rider will probably grow at about 6 to 7%. So whatever you put in, it's probably going to double in about 10 years. You can't touch that doubled figure as cash, but it's just like you watch with your Social Security. You can turn it on. So let me give you an example. If somebody took $250,000 and stuck it in a fixed indexed annuity with an income rider, okay, you're most likely going to wake up, if you're 60 and doing that, with about $500,000 in income value on your fixed indexed annuity with an income rider. It'll have about $500,000. That's probably going to equate to about, starting off at year 70, about $30,000 in income for the rest of your life. You can also get spousal continuation, meaning that you take slightly less, just like any pension you have. Instead of getting $30,000, maybe you're getting $25,000 a year, but that will continue for the lifetime for your spouse and yourself if you guys are roughly the same age, right? That works that way. Stop gambling your retirement future on the stock market. I've helped many investors just like you make millions of dollars with double-digit returns without placing one single penny in the stock market. Look, this is a proven strategy that ultra-wealthy, savvy investors like Warren Buffett have used for decades to hedge against stock market risk. So if you're interested in learning how to make competitive returns without stock market risk in an investment that is not affected by politics, worldwide events, or economic woes, all you have to do is simply click on this link below to learn more. So that's what you would do in what we call the second bucket, a safe money bucket. Safe money bucket. And about 20% of your money might go into that bucket so that you know that if the market does ups and downs while you're heading into retirement or while you're in retirement and you were kind of planning on pulling some of that money to live off of, you can just set this money aside. It has guarantees. It cannot lose money, right? It is safe. It is backed by some of the largest insurance carriers in the world. You can hit me up. I'm an expert in this. I definitely can put you in the right place, know people that can show you the best products that are out there. That is the only kind of annuity that I like for people to buy. And I only like to see them buy it with qualified funds, part of their IRA. Why? And I'm not a big fan of cash in annuities, right? Because they're not very liquid. So what you do there is if you put your some of your retirement money there, you're at 60, you're still working, you're okay with that. You just let it grow. And then at 70, if you decide to retire, if you wait even longer, the longer you wait on it, the more it grows. You could be looking at a $30,000 to $40,000 payout per year, and you add that onto your Social Security. That is your safe money, right? You have your Social Security, maybe you got a pension from your work, and now you've done a secondary pension. Those dollars are going to protect your retirement for what you need, right? It's the old Rolling Stone song. You may not get what you want, but you'll get what you need. That is your need money, right? That way you can sleep at night knowing, look, you aren't going to starve to death. Your house is paid for. All your necessary things that you need to live a nice life going through retirement are there, right? This isn't going to buy the luxury car. It's not going to take you on the fancy trip, but your needs are taken care of from 70 to the day you die. That's why I tell people having some money in a safe money bucket isn't a bad idea, right? So that's where you have the safe money bucket. The problem with the safe money bucket, though, is that obviously, number one, it doesn't really make a lot of money, as in while it's growing. And insurance carriers have these annuities fixed this way. If you have some guy who meets you and says that he sells annuities and they make stock like market like gains, that's a lie. He'll even show you charts, and they won't be charts from real time. They'll be back from like 30 years when the market was hot, okay? Because they go up and down based on the market. So don't believe that. That's a myth. These things are going to make, on average, cash-wise, cash accumulation, maybe 4%, maybe 5% if you're lucky. And on the side of income, you'll be lucky 6, 7, 8%. And that's what it does. Like I told you, it's boring, right? I always say it's like my grandpa's old Oldsmobile. It goes down the highway at 60 miles an hour on cruise control. It doesn't zip around. It's nothing you brag about, but it helps you sleep at night. So that's where the safe money comes in. Again, the reason that a lot of people don't like that bucket is because it's not going to do what the stock market does when the market is hot. But that's why you have 70% of your money in the market. See, you're diversifying out. You're going to get all the wins with the market. Less of your money is there. So when you take a loss, you take less of a loss. And then you have money over here that you know is going to pay you out. Now we get to the point of the last 10%. That is where I enter the equation. That is your alternative bucket. Okay. Here we sell life settlements, and we told people about that before. What we do is we package up life settlement policies that we've purchased, and you can come in and buy portions of them. Right now, like if you came in with $50,000, you're probably owning about 1% to 2% of the overall portfolio, and the payout would give you about $90,000. Now, that money's going to come out. There's like, let's say 5 policies or 6 policies. Every time somebody passes away, you get part of that death benefit. We just had a payout that we discussed with Barry Neal, who is the CEO of Equilife, a life settlement out of California that I've helped work with him on. His clients just got paid out $3 million. We'll have him coming up on a new episode. $3 million, and their APR was 20%. This year alone with Barry's company, he's had 3 payouts over $5 million with a 20% APR return, a 12% APR return, and a 10% APR return, right? These are really nice numbers for people to take a portion of their money away from the market and see really good returns. That's how you want to do this. So 70% market, deal with the fluctuation, write it out, take all the wins that are there, deal with the losses, but it's not all of your money. It's 70% of your money. 20% of your money, possibly in a safe money bucket. Look at something like a fixed indexed annuity with an income rider so that you set it up for a pension plan. Not sexy, but it definitely helps you in retirement get what you need. Now, what you need to do is find the perfect blend of an investment that doesn't have any exposure to the market, but doesn't do something like the annuity where it has fairly low returns and is restrictive. You want to find something that will have decent returns, has a proof of decent returns. We're talking 8%, possibly 9%, possibly sometimes even higher, so that you're making decent money there. At the same time, it's not affected by any outside forces like the economy, politics, foreign wars. And that's exactly what life settlements do, right? That's why it's there. But where it's easy to deal with this is people go, it's new to me. I'm trying to figure it out. Great. If I sit in front of somebody who's got $1 million in net worth, probably all their money right now is in the market, we're going to start at about $50,000 to build their portfolio, 5% of their net worth. This isn't a hard decision to have because they're worried, well, what happens if this goes wrong? Well, it's $50,000. But what I can tell them is most likely in the next 4 to 8 years, you're going to get paid back on that $90,000 that you own, right? So that's what's nice about it. So when it comes to alternative investments like life settlements, it's not really a hard decision. It's figuring out how to allocate the money. And we're never going to take more than probably 10% of the net worth over a lifetime with somebody to invest in something like this. So that is the information on allocation. Think of the 70-20-10 rule, 70% stock market, 20% safe money. That other 10% is where we would come in. So we want to sit down with you and look at that 10%, the worst performing 10% of your portfolio, to try to figure out where it meets with us. So to recap again, 70-20-10, stock market, safe money, and alternative investments 10. Look into things like us. Look at Life Asset LLC. That's where we want to work with you on that 10%. It's a real easy conversation. Every time I meet with somebody, it's not just explaining the product, but the question I'm going to have the follow-up is, where is your worst performing 10%? Wherever that money is, that's the money we want to talk about. We don't want to talk about your stock market gains, that you're making 10% that year, 12%, or that piece of real estate that doubled in value. I'm happy for you. That's amazing. We would never take that money and go into something else because it's working for you. We want to look at the money that's not working for you and slowly over time build a portfolio. So it's a very easy decision. So again, if you're interested in understanding how to allocate your money between stock market, safe money like annuities, and also finally getting into the space of alternatives so that that money works for you outside the market, making decent returns, that's a reason to contact us. Again, we're lifeassetllc.com, lifeassetllc.com. We have information here below where you can get in touch with us at any time. So think smart about allocating. Don't fall for the myth, number one, which is, hey, all my money should be in the market and it's spread out. That's not really allocating your money. It's just spreading your money around the market. Second of all, don't fall for the insurance guy telling you need to take 50% of your money or all of your money and put it into some kind of annuity because it'll make stock-like gains. That is a myth as well, not true. But it doesn't mean the product's bad. It means the person you're talking to is bad. So contact us. We'd love to talk to you about this. And upcoming, we're going to have a great episode with Barry Neal from Equilife LLC talking about that breaking news, major news, $3 million paid out, 20% APR to clients, working the system, allocating their money correctly for his investors, where they're making a 20% gain this year on their money without any stock market risk. So look forward to that episode coming up. Until then, I will see you next time.